Hello and welcome to Halloween Addicts Anonymous for March. I'm so glad that you all are coming to join me. Sorry I had it on the project first, although that's probably a better thing to look at than my mug. I'd rather you look at my feet. So let's look at this. So I want to make sure that you all got your prep done. If you didn't have the color tropical blue, don't worry, because we just use it for a little bit of shading, and you can just use deep midnight blue or something like that. So cool. Anyway, so how's about we get started painting? Would you like that? I'm going to turn off one of these lights so I can see a little better. It's shining right in my eye. So anyway, this is what your piece should look like. And before we get started, and one of the first things we need to do is, let me get a little closer. I can't remember which way I'm going. There we go. A little bit closer. You're going to get out your Argyle stencil or any stencil that you decided to use. I thought this one lended itself well to this piece. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to get this out, and you can just kind of line it up, and you want to get out some graphite. We're going to stencil this design on here with graphite. And here's where you get to use your favorite stencil brush, or you could use a cosmetic wedge. Whatever you use to stencil with is better. I'm going to get out my Chris Hoy stencil brush. And I just used it to paint something, so I needed to dry it really well. And so I'm just going to line this up as best I can. I don't want it to go all wonky like that, but you can if you want. It's your piece. And if you're using a different stencil, I would love to see what you're using. And so be sure to post pictures of your pieces. You have to post them to my Sandy LaFleur Facebook page, and then I'll comment, and if I remember, I'll change them and move them over to my Just Fine Designs page. So I don't know why. I am really tired tonight, so I'm probably not going to make any sense at all. But anyway, let's just get this Argyle stuff stenciled on here. You know, every once in a while I come up with a winner, and this seems to be one of them. I kid you not, I had 111 orders in the month of February. No, I did not get rich, okay? But I did stay out of trouble because I was too busy cutting wood and sending orders out. I think I only screwed up like one. So I'll blame that on my age. I'm getting too old for this stuff. No? Right. You don't know how much I appreciate you all supporting me in this. It's a habit that pays for itself mostly. Unless I go crazy buying tissue paper and beads lately. The beads were crazy. I have so many beads you wouldn't believe it. Well, you might believe it because you probably bought a lot of beads too. But they just worked so well with this piece that I couldn't resist. All right, so now I got, see, this looks great already. So I'm going to go down here and continue. Don't worry if you get it on your other sections, it'll be okay. So all the way down to the heel. Really doesn't take long to add a whole lot of cuteness to this piece. Just by adding this argyle stenciling, it's already screams Halloween. If the colors didn't scream Halloween to begin with, this would make it scream Halloween. All right. Looking good. So I can put this, I actually cleaned my stencils today. They were pretty nasty. I use this stuff called Mostenbacher's Lift Off. I think I get it at Lowe's. And it says latex paint remover. It removes acrylic paint too. And you just squirt that on there and just wipe, and your stencils are clean. And I do the same thing with my brush basin. I use that on my brush basin also. And let's see, what should we do? We're gonna let this stenciling dry. So we're gonna go up to this top edge, and that top edge was painted with, let's see, open water, which is one of my new favorite colors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry brush some highlighting. Boy, I got really small, didn't I? It's again, it's that delay. I can't tell when to stop on my zoom in and out button. One of these days I'll be a pro at it, and then I'll retire. So you want spa blue. You also want to get out warm white. And you want to get out the tropical blue if you have it. If not, you can use deep midnight blue. It'll be just fine. We use so little of it. But it's a pretty color too. The tropical blue. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a really pretty blue color. So I might be using it more often. So you may want to get a bottle of it if you want to keep painting with me and use the colors I use. But I don't care if you change the colors. So what we're going to do first is we're going to dry brush some highlight through this little top edge right here. We're just going to dry brush through the center of it with spa blue. And of course I dry brush by wiping stuff on my hand. But please dry brush the way you like to, the way that works for you. Now I said through the center, it's going to be basically all over because this is such a narrow area here. So just dry brush and scrub some spa blue on here. And then you can wash out your dry brush. And then it has some little warm white stripes. And now if you want to, you can just paint those on with a small flat brush if you have it. And that's with warm white. So thin it down just a little bit. They don't have to be opaque. Just some stripes, and they're wide. They're kind of wide. And if you wanted to, if you have a little stripe stencil, you could use a little stripe stencil and get them on there like perfect little stripes. But I didn't tell you to get a stripe stencil, so I'll paint them on by hand. So I'm just going to add some stripes real quick. So I thinned the paint down a little bit just so it will move a little easier, and I didn't want those stripes to be opaque. I want to see some of that blue through there. So I'm just going to go along here and add these stripes. Already cuting itself up. Now we'll let this part dry, and we will move on to a different section. So I think we should go on and let's dry brush some margarita. Margaritas sound lovely. I could use one of those. So I'm going to dry brush Margarita through the center of this whole green section on my piece. Margarita's a cool color too. I used it quite a lot for a while, and then I got away from it, and now I think I need to get back to it. So my dry brush was a little wet, so I'm going to dry it off on my towel. Actually, this was a clean towel earlier today, but then I painted, so it's not clean anymore. So I'm going to dry brush Margarita through the center of this green section. And it gets pretty wide. It's going to be wide where the section itself is wide. And then it'll thin down here and through there, and then it'll widen out again as you get towards the bottom. So let's just get some highlighting on here, on those little checks that you put on there so painstakingly. Don't retire. I have to someday. I won't quit painting, I don't think, because I have a lot of stuff that still needs to be painted on. But someday I want to travel. I want to see the world. We were trying to schedule a trip to visit my daughter, or our daughter, up in Washington State. And we'd pick a date, and then I go, no, sorry, teaching. Gotta be here. All right, now don't wash that brush out. All right, we're gonna come back and we're gonna dry brush some brighter highlighting by picking up warm white on our dirty brush. So it still has Margarita in it, but you want to pick up a little bit of warm white so you get a lighter value of Margarita, and you'll be able to see that on the back of my hand. So lighter value Margarita, and I'm going to dry brush a brighter highlight, and this is going to go the same places, except we did really, really wide. We're not going to go as wide in these areas. We're going to keep it kind of in the center of what we just dry brushed, if that makes any sense at all. So just stick some highlighting, brighter highlighting on top of this, that first highlight. All right, cool. So now we are going to float some shading with black forest green. And that shading is going to go around every edge. Top, bottom, next to the purple, next to those orange scallops. It's all going to get shaded with black forest green. Black forest green, I'm going to say this a lot. It's a pretty color. It's a little transparent, so it makes it really easy to float with. So I'm going to use my big brush. And this is a 3/4 inch. And I'm just going to come down. Now if you like to mop your floats, this would probably be a good place to mop floats, to soften and blend them. Okay. just going to go all the way down this front edge next to these scallops. And it looks nice already. That black forest just really plays nice with Irish moss. Sometimes I use the suggested shading and highlighting colors that DecoArt suggests, and sometimes I go a little outside their recommendations, and I think this was one that I did. You know that DecoArt has all those things on their website that you can print out a shading and highlighting chart, and that comes in really handy. I have mine right next to my painting table, which I just pointed at the drawer that it's in, even though you can't see where I'm pointing, but it's right next to me. All right, so I got one side done. Let's go next to this heel here. I'm going to mop that just to soften it and blend it so those two blend together a little bit. Let's go up this back side. And let's see, let's go across the bottom. Just a couple more places. Go across the top under that blue top edge. And then we just have to do the inside of the sole of the shoe. Let's go right here. Fabulous. I think that's if I could find a pair of shoes like this, I might wear them. They probably wouldn't be good for my feet, but most of the shoes we wear aren't. Get out that tropical blue or that deep midnight blue, whichever one you're going to use. And you just want to float shading across the bottom and on both outside edges. I didn't type it in that I did it across the top, so I obviously didn't do it across the top. So both sides and across the lower edge of that top striped edge. The tropical blue, and it just kind of, it was a nice bright Halloween-y color, and I think that's why I took it. And then I'm going to go across the bottom here. And that float isn't very wide. Just enough to show that it's shaded. Now I'm looking at this green section next to the scalloped edges, and I want to darken mine just a little bit. So I'm going to float just a little bit more Black Forest green, especially in these V areas. I want to walk that color out a little bit, but it just looked a little pale to me. But if yours looks good to you, consider yourself on a break. And I'm only going to do the scalloped side. not going the other way. You can if you want. But you see how I'm filling in those little V areas, deepening them, and walking that color out, just to give it a little more dimension. And as usual, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it, the replay, immediately after the live ends. And then in a day or two, I will have an edited version available on my YouTube channel, which is just Sandy LaFleur. There's lots of videos on there, so you may find something else you want to paint. So we need to dry brush some brighter highlights. And we're going to do that on this green section. I'm going to keep it towards the back side of the boot. And I'm going to just dry brush a brighter highlight. I'm not going to go in this little skinny area here, but I am going to go down the back side of the tall part of the boot, and I'm going to go in the bottom here, next to the bottom of the sole of the boot, and that's going to be with straight warm white. I have almost been living here for a year. Next week will be a whole year. I survived my first Oklahoma winter. I think I got off easier than the gals in California. I only had to deal with snow like once, and I didn't have to go outside, so it was okay with me. I liked looking at it out my window. So you see I'm just going down this back side a little bit. I'm not going to go through here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of a rounded, curved little highlight in the bottom of the shoe here. If I get on camera, that would be really, really sweet. So just a little bit of a curved highlight down there to give it some roundness. And then again, wash your brush out. And then I also kind of did a more definite warm white highlight. I just loaded my little liner brush. It's not little, this is probably a 2, with warm white, and just kind of started at the top here and just pulled a little stroke down. When it ran out of paint, that was the end of that. And then I did a little bit right here at the bottom of the shoe, kind of where we just did that curve of a dry brushed highlight. So I'm just going to load, no water, just some warm white paint. And I'm going to just start up here and pull it down, and it ran out pretty quick, but that's fine with me. And then I'm going to pull another one right here. That one didn't run out as quickly, but that's fine with me too. You also want to do this same kind of highlight with your liner brush and warm white on this top stripe thing. Started at the back side, and as it ran out, it ended. So just a few more definite warm white highlights. All right, our front scalloped edge. You want to dry brush highlighting on it with Moon Yellow. So let's get out Moon Yellow. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and get out some Heritage Brick. You're going to like this color on that orange. We want to dry brush highlighting on this orange scalloped edge with Moon Yellow. I'm going to use a little bit larger brush to dry brush with. So just in each of those scallops, scrub, and you should have to scrub If it's a true dry brush, you need to scrub to get that paint out of your brush. If it's coming out of your brush in blobs, then you need to take more paint out. So just each of those scallops, let's dry brush some moon yellow. See, now this brush is a fairly new short round, so it's still kind of pointy. It's not my optimum worn down dry brush. When I wear the point off of it, that's when it's really good for dry brushing. And when it's new, it sheds a little bit. That's okay. It just wipes off. And almost done there. Trying to paint really slow. See, now this brush is a little big for there. But it'll be okay. I'll make it work. Doesn't that make that front look interesting already? And we're going to float some shading, and it's actually going to happen twice. So you're going to float Heritage Brick right on the edge of each of those scallops. Okay, so let's do that first. This gives you good practice for floating on those scallops. So Heritage Brick, and it doesn't really matter where you start. I'm going to start here. I don't know how I got Heritage Brick on my finger. Oh well, at least it's not my pants, right? So I'm just going to do the back side of those scallops, get a float of Heritage Brick. And on this one at the top, you can go ahead and carry that float underneath that top blue rim. So each scallop, just a little shading of Heritage Brick in the back side. It is turning out cute already, I think. I'm kind of prejudiced. I like this piece. I liked this piece when I first painted it, and usually if I like a piece, that means everybody else is going to hate it. But you guys liked it, so I'm really happy about that. All right. Isn't that a pretty color on that spice pumpkin? So now what we want to do is we want to float that scallop again, but we're going to drop it inside a little bit so that we have this little rim on the back side of the scallop. So same thing, floating the scallops, but you're going to pull that float in just a little bit so you get a little rim. So let's see which the best way for me to go at this. I'm going to go here. And this one, the floats can kind of go off the edge. They don't have to hook together. Okay? If that makes any sense. How, you know how these floats touched each other in these points. These floats don't have to. If they do, that's fine. But if they don't, it's okay too. So you just want to give yourself a little rim. See, like here, this one is going to start, they're going to start touching. But in these little ones, they don't have to touch. And just added a little bit more character. And it also was something else for me to make you do. Right? That's always my goal, is what can I make them do? How can I keep them occupied? All right. I know this piece kind of gave me a complex because y'all liked it so much. I was like, oh no, now I got to come up with something else that you like. But I got over it. I can only do so much. All right. I think that's my favorite part of this piece, is that front placard. So I think you can see it in your picture. I'm going to show you here. Like we did that little highlighting on the other parts of the boot where it ran out a little bit. We're going to line a little bit of moon yellow highlighting in each of those rims. It doesn't fill up the whole rim. It's just a touch of highlighting. And it's dry brush, so don't add water to the paint. Just pick up some paint, wipe your brush out a little bit so it's dry, and then just line a little bit of highlighting on that rim that we just created. And that's with moon yellow. All these little extra little things are what makes this so cute. I could have just left it alone, but no, anybody who's painted with me knows me, that I don't leave things alone. If I do, I think about it and wonder if I should have. My nose has gotten clogged since we started. I must be allergic to y'all. Okay. Cute. All right, now you can put the pattern on for your little eyelets, and you can paint them or you can stencil them on. And when I put the pattern on for these things, I just hide my transfer paper as far away from my painting area as I can. But I'm going to put this, align this on here. I'm going to use my dark graphite, and all I'm going to do is find my pen. I'm just going to put a little X in the middle of each of those little circles. That way I know where each of those little eyelets go. and it's we're going to paint them with lamp black, so it'll cover up those X's really well. I can't think tonight. So I'm going to use another one. I'm going to use Chris's Painter's Pal that has circles on it. This one has circles and ovals. She had one initially that was just circles, but now I think it comes with circles and ovals. This one I did not clean. And so I have to figure out which size I used, which size circle I used. Okay. I think it's this second size, not the smallest one, but the next one up. So I'm going to need some lamp black. So get out a little bit of lamp black and either paint or stencil those little eyelets on. With lamp black. Thankfully, you only have to do this once, right? Nice circle there. And we do stuff to these, so this circle, so don't worry if it's not perfect. It'll be okay. If you want to put more eyelets, please do. If you want to put less, okay. But that's like underachieving. Well, those weren't spaced out, right? Oh well, it'll be okay. I've had slippers on all day because I didn't go anywhere. Didn't even go run errands. So I'm just going to quickly add these little eyelets down the front of this boot. There we go. A couple more and we're done. Oh no, I think we're done there. Yep, there we go. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Odd number, yay. I didn't even check for that. We are going to paint the laces that go. And those are done with warm white. And you want to use a liner brush. Again, I can't tell what size this is. It could be a 1. And warm white. If you need more warm white, I might need more warm white. But what I want to do is I want to kind of flatten this liner brush out so I get a square tip on it. Normally when we use a liner, we want it up on a point. But I'm going to load the brush and flatten it so I get a square tip so I can get that width right away in my laces. Now pay attention because the laces don't just go straight. They have a little curve to them, okay? You could paint them straight and it would be okay, but it wouldn't be like mine, okay? It's not, and that's what we're all for, right? Just teasing. So I'm just going to start in the middle of those black dots and paint some curved laces coming out of those black dots. Oops, that one got a little big, but it'll be okay. Nobody will know except all of you because I told you it was too big, but it'll be okay. They don't have to be opaque, thankfully, but I'm going to warn you, we do float a little bit of shading on them. So quick and easy laces on these boots. So cute already. if I say so myself. So you're going to need some of that open water. And that's another pretty blue I really like. I'm usually a little late to the party. Colors come out and I start using them a year after they come out, 2 years after they come out, and then I really like them. So this is from a couple years ago, I think, when they released this one. So a liner brush and open water, and let me get a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to line a highlight on what's left of that black portion. That's why you need a liner brush with open water. So just a little line in that back side of the eyelet. Like on my fat one, I had to go over the lace. So if you have to do that, it's okay. So I'm just highlighting it with this blue. So just a quick little highlight of open water in the back side of that eyelet with your liner brush. And then of course, you know me, I'm going to use my liner brush and a little bit of warm white, and I'm going to highlight that highlight just because I can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I just want to touch a little bit of a warm white highlight on that blue highlight. And it really does make a difference. It really makes the eyelet stand out a little bit more. There are times when I do things that it doesn't really make a difference. But I make you do them anyway. Because I did them, so you have to do them. Right? All right. I don't know how many of you groaned when I said we were going to highlight the highlight, but it does make a difference. This piece doesn't have eyes, but I did something that I always do when I paint eyes. I'm going to take some thinned down heritage brick, and I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to line this shadow behind the lace. So it's going on the orange behind the black eyelet and laces. So just a quick little shadow of thin heritage brick behind each eyelet. Just to kind of pop it off that orange background. We're almost done with these laces. You probably had no idea there were this many steps. All right. Okay. There we go. We're getting there slowly but surely. like I say that every class. I need to find a new little thing to say. All right. So one last little thing to do to the laces, and then we can move on. We are going to take our flat brush and we're going to corner load into some tropical blue. If you don't have tropical blue, you can use the deep midnight, or you could even use the open water. That would be fine too. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to touch just a little bit of shading on the front edge of each one of those laces. It's not really a float. I mean, you're just kind of setting your flat brush down and leaving some color on those white laces. Okay, we are probably gonna go to the purple parts right next, and there are a couple of colors that we don't have out that you need. So you're gonna need Wisteria and Diox Purple. You don't need much. There's only those two little sections. And we're also going to use Moon Yellow, but you have that out on your palette already. So get your dry brush out. Dry it off. Mine was still damp. So I'm drying it off on my towel. And what we're going to do is we're going to dry brush highlighting on these purple sections with Wisteria. So I'm going to start in the toe of my boot. And I'm just going to dry brush some Wisteria highlighting in there. And then let's go to the heel back here, and we're going to dry brush Wisteria in there. Okay, so nice bright highlight there. Then you can wash out your brush. We're going to stencil some stars on our toe and on our heel. And I used a Tim Holtz star stencil. I think it's called Falling Stars. I'm not sure. I guess I could look at my directions. Yeah, it's called Falling Stars. But you can use any star stencil you have in your stash. It'll work just fine. And the stars are just going to be added with Moon Yellow. So let me find my handy dandy stencil brush and some Moon Yellow, and I'm going to add those stars to the heel and the toe. Don't want to forget the toe. Okay. And these do not have to be opaque. You just want to give the idea that there are stars there. If they are opaque, that's okay too. I just like this stencil because it had so many different little sizes of stars. So nice stars on the heel and the toe. I like to move it around so I can get as many stars as I can in here. All right. Now see, this area looks blank to me and that area looks blank to me, so I'm going to sneak in a couple stars. just to fill them up. Yeah, maybe a little one. I love stencils. When I was first learning how to paint, I always thought stencils were cheating. But I love them now. So easy to add elements to your piece. And we are going to float shading on the heel and the toe with Diox Purple. And that goes all around every edge. Nice side load float of Diox Purple. And you can jump back and forth between the heel and the toe, so you can let some floats dry. Isn't that pretty on there? I think I tried Purple Iris, but it just wasn't rich enough. And these are expensive shoes, so we needed to use something richer. I'm going to turn my boot over so I can get this area right here on the toe. I'll go ahead and mop that one. And let's see, we can go back to the heel. And let's go up the back side. And I'm going to go back to my toe so I can let my heel dry. I'm going to come down the front edge and across the bottom. I'm glad you like the colors. It's kind of hard to go wrong with purple and green and orange. And let's finish up the heel. I'm going to go right across the bottom here. And I have just to go next to the scallops on the toe. I'm going to go around those scallops with this dioxazine purple. And that makes them stand out a little more too. All right, heel and toe are done. So we're going to work on that, I guess you call it the heel, the other heel. And you might as well get your bat out too, because he gets dry brushed with the same color. So let's get out. I think we have open water out. So let's dry brush highlighting through the center of this heel. It's not going to show up a whole lot. It's pretty on here. We're going to come back with some lighter color. So I'm going to dry brush on that heel. And then I'm going to go to my little bat. And I'm going to dry brush on his little wings. Doesn't matter. Or just do the whole wing. Am I even on camera as I'm thinking about this? I want to dry brush a little bit on his face, and it's basically his whole head gets it, his ears and his face, and then his little body. So I did treat them as separate little sections so that I can use that base coat of graphite to add to my shading. And then I'm going to do my other wing. I always like to use some kind of blue when I dry brush highlighting on anything that's black or gray or anything like that. I like to use blue. So then just pick up some warm white on that dirty brush so that you get a lighter value of that open water. You can see it, the step up here on my hand. And I'm going to dry brush a little bit brighter highlighting on that heel. I'm going to keep it really thin right here, and then it's going to widen out a little bit at the bottom. And then on my bat, it's going to coincide with these scallops. I want to add a little bit brighter highlighting on those scallops, up from those scallops, just to kind of give me that look of the way bat wings. I've never seen an actual bat wing, but this is how I imagine they are. Well, I've never seen a bat wing up close, let's put it that way. I did go to the Congress Street Bridge in Austin and watch the bats. That's pretty interesting. Okay, and I want to put a little bit on his face and a little bit on his body. He looks like a bat already. So we have to float some shading on these guys. And that's going to be done with lamp black, which you already have. We're going to go basically all four sides of that high heel. So I'm going to go under the purple part. I got that kind of wide, so I'm going to mop it out a little bit. And I'll go across the bottom also. And then I'll come back and do the sides. And then on the bat, what I want to do is the way that we form this extra little rim on this orange front section, I want to do that to form a little ridge. My bat's attached, so you have to look here. I'm going to do that same thing to form a little ridge on the top of his wings. Now when I come down the sides, I bring it down to a point so it gets skinny down there, if that makes sense. So you want to float to make that little ridge across the top of his wing. And you stop when you get to the corner. And then you're going to come down the side, but as you come down the side, it gets skinnier and skinnier until you're in the point. Does that make sense? So I've made that little ridge there on my bat wings. So I'm going to do the other side. I don't know if you could see it. No, I think I need a little more water in my brush. So I'm going to do across the top here. And then I'm going to come down the side. And as I get towards the bottom, I make it come down to the point. And then let's go back to the heel so we can let our little bat guy dry. Let's go down both sides of that high heel. I'm going to turn my boot over and do the other side. Almost done, you guys. Can you believe it? So his little, I'm going to go back to the bat now. There we are. I'm going to float on his ears next to the head, just to separate his ears from his head. And I want to float this on his wings next to his little body. You could make him fatter if you want. I didn't. I don't think he's eaten much lately. Must be in hibernation, maybe. And then also, just a touch of it underneath his chin. I say just a touch, and then I put a big old blob there. But it'll be okay. So you've gone next to his body, on his ears, next to his head, and under his chin. Now, just like we did on the boot here, on the green part and on the top and anywhere else we can think of, I'm going to add a little bit brighter highlight on this high heel with my liner brush and warm white. And I'm going to start the fat part towards the bottom. And technically I should have put some on my heel and toe. So if you want, you can do one on the heel and the toe too. But you don't have to, because I didn't do it to begin with. Right, there is, what do I want to say here? There's a little stripe that separates the purple from the green, another little detail, and that is with open water. So liner brush and some open water. You can thin it down. We're just going to line a stripe to separate the green from the purple here. And really this was to bring this blue one more place into this piece. And of course, it does get a highlight and it does get a shade. But I think it really finishes off that heel and that toe quite nicely. Okay, so, and let's go here to separate the purple from the green. And then with your, you can just wipe your brush out, pick up a little warm white, and there's just a lined highlight through the center of each of those little stripes we put on. Another one of those dry brush, when it runs out of paint, you're done things. And then I did take my liner brush, I washed it out, and some tropical blue. And I'm going to line a shadow on either end of those little stripes. Just another little detail. Oops, too much paint, I can see that. Okay, I think we're done with the boot portion. Now we just got, oh no, you have to do lettering. How could I forget lettering? Oh my goodness. But let's go finish off our bat. So the bat, we're going to paint inside his ears and add some little cheeks on that teeny tiny face with our liner brush and some spiced pumpkin. And I'll get a little closer to that guy. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. So I'm just going to take my liner brush and some spiced pumpkin. And I'm just going to paint. Doesn't have to be opaque, thank goodness. Inside his little ears with spiced pumpkin. Now if you need to put the pattern on for his face, you're welcome to do that. But you could probably just wing it. And then I'm going to give him a couple little round spiced pumpkin cheeks. These are actually painted on. They're not dry brushed on like I normally do. Cheeks. So while we let those dry, he needs a belly button, unless you don't want him to have one. But I gave him a little belly button, and all I did was just float a couple of little C strokes of lamp black to give him a belly button, because otherwise it was too empty. If you want to paint like a little heart on there, you could do that. That'd be cute. But I'm just going to corner load my flat brush and just touch a little C stroke going one way. And I'm going to turn him over and finish it off so it's a circle. He has a couple of little eyes that you're going to need to get out Irish moss. Just a little dot of it. And I'm just going to give him a couple of green eyes. Basically, I'm just going to do a little set down. And as usual, my eyes are not the same size. And they're not even on the same plane. They're kind of cattywampus. You want to give him his little smile, his little mouth with his little pointy teeth. And that's with thinned, warm white. So you really want to stay up on the tip for this guy. So I'm just going to give him a little smile. And then I'm going to give him a couple of little teeth. They go down on his chest, that's okay. Just a couple of little triangle teeth. So the only thing we have left to do to him is when those eyes dry, we need to add a couple of dots of lamp black for his pupils. So let's set him aside for a little bit and go back to our boot. We need to put the pattern on for our lettering. If you want your boot to say something else, that's fine. You're perfectly fine. I thought it was kind of fun to go back to the lettering that we used to do all the time when we were first learning how to paint with the lines and the dots. So I thought that was kind of neat. It worked well for this piece. So I'm just going to add the pattern for my lettering. And you could do this with a paint pen if you wanted to. If you happen to win one and want to wait till it comes in the mail and use it. But I'll do it with my liner brush, because that'll give my bat eyes more time to dry. So liner brush and warm white. You want to just paint that lettering, thin the paint down just a little bit so it will move. And this lettering isn't all that thick, so I don't flatten my brush out to do it. Normally when I do lettering, I do that, flatten it out to a square tip. but this time I'm just going to line it. So, and not do a very good job. And we do have to do that shadow that I always do next to my lettering too. But lettering and the pupils in the bat eyes, and you guys, add your wire and your beads. I thought it was cool the way it worked out that 13 beads is what I used to put on the wire. So what I do is I put wire in one side and then I load my beads on, and then I put the wire through the other side. That way I know that I'm cutting the wire the right length for 13 beads. All right. Oops, I didn't need to dot that I because I can dot it with my stylus. All right. I'm not going to dot it yet because I want to line that shadow to the left side of each letter, and that's done with that Black Forest green. You want to thin it down. Make a nice thin wash of Black Forest green, and you're just going to line this shadow on the green background next to each letter, and it's on the left side. So wherever there's a left side, so like the F had a long left side, and then on the little stirrup or curve over of the F, you're going to go on that left side. So just look at it. If it has a left side, that's where you line this shadow. And that just makes that lettering pop off the background just a little bit more. So my B, I go down the back side, and then I'm going to go inside the loops of the B. Again, I need to look up the anatomy of a letter, I guess. I don't know. Okay. And if you're painting with me and you're this far, you should be really, really happy that you're getting so done. Or you should be really happy anyway. It's a good day to be happy. All right. So now I need to find a stylus, but I'm going to add those dots to the end of my letters, and I'm going to put out a fresh little dot of warm white so that I stand a good chance of getting some nice dots. And just like in the old days, we're going to add these dots to the ends of our lettering. And if you put in places I didn't, that's fine. Because I might be putting in places I didn't. I don't know. I didn't do any on the O's. If you want to, you can. So some quick dots to finish off our lettering. And then we need to give our bat some pupils. All right, so then let's just get our little bat and give him a couple of pupils. And you can do that with your stylus and some lamp black. You want little tiny dots. There we go. He has some pupils. So now I think we're basically done. Now you just need to varnish it, sign it, glue your bat in place. Now I just stuck them kind of like here, I guess, on my piece, but you can put them wherever you want. If you want to put them down here, or up there, or right there, wherever you want to put your bat, that's where he should go. And then you're going to add your wire and your beads, and you've got a finished Halloween piece, and it's a cutie, I have to say. Thank you guys for painting with me, for doing this piece. And again, don't forget, next month it's April 12th, and we're gonna do this Home Sweet Home Skelly. It's small, but it's Home Sweet Home, and there is a prep video for the background prep. And then let's see, I've been working on May's piece, so I'll give you a little look and see if you like it. May, we're going to be doing Christmas. So I think I did this today, and I think this may be the Christmas piece. So it's 14.5 inches by 7.5 inches. And the icing and the glasses and the heart and the lettering are all cutouts. It's not going to go up on the website just yet because I have to figure out how much the wood costs. Because with all the cutouts and stuff, it's a little bit different. So this is going to be our piece for May. Anyway, thank you. Have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to go eat dinner, and I will talk to you later.